This is Gearvana. This is a podcast, and this is a podcast where we talk about guitars, gear, studio recording stuff, and all sorts of cool things that we're really interested in, and we hope you're interested in too. My name is Mike. This is Dewald, and unfortunately we don't have our regular Mark Beeling, but we do have someone we see regularly.
Yeah, we see him regularly.
It's Jason, and Jason's from Marshall Music. You work at Marshall Music Woodmead, yeah?
That's right. Hello, everybody.
Are you a guitar specialist, Jason?
That's what it says on my business card.
It does. I don't have a business card. That's
certified.
Cool.
Really?
I actually don't.
If you had one,
I have a business card.
What? Okay,
yes.
I'm feeling left out. Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Feeling sort of piggy in the middle here. You're throwing a ball over me. I can't get it. It's not cool. It's not cool.
Yeah.
I need a business card. Anyway, back to the podcast.
I have one in my wallet if you want one.
Oh, just
you
to
want to
prove
borrow
that you
it.
got one.
You can borrow it.
Well, I think it's going to be cool having you on this week because, I mean, obviously we've got some association with Marshall Music, of
Definitely.
course. So,
That's right, yeah.
you know, hearing a bit of the retail perspective could be pretty cool. So, first thing, why is everything in South Africa so expensive?
Wait, before we start,
Everything.
we start with
It's
that,
not that expensive.
No, it isn't.
before we start with anybody saying anything, we have to say that all opinions voiced are our own. Even if Jason is an employee of Marshall Music and a guitar specialist, remember, this is his opinion. It's
I
not
only
the
like-
opinion of Marshall Music or of anybody.
I only like our brands.
Yes.
Not biased. Oh, something we are very biased towards, however, is Rode microphones. And we would
Yes.
like to thank Rode Microphones South Africa for supplying us with these wonderful bits and pieces. They're a bit more than that. We got the Procaster mic. We got the pod mics on the side, you know, the big one for the big dog in the middle and, you know, the smaller one
Yeah.
on the side. And we also got
The
Rodecaster
Rodecaster
Pro.
Pro, which I now remember the name of.
Yeah.
And I must say, every week, every time I pull the audio from this into our sessions, you know, for like, I'm just blown away every time. So, Rode, if you're into podcasting, if you're into gaming, if you're doing anything online where you need to speak into something,
I have to say, you used this on our videos last week, and
At Marshall
hearing
Music,
the
yeah.
audio quality at Marshall Music,
yeah, it's a
I
different
was-
game, eh?
I was very impressed, man.
Yeah.
It's really cool as a field recorder. And it's like, it's not actually primarily for that, but it works freaking great
It
for that.
works very well.
Like I really dig the presets for different styles of mics. When you're putting an SM57 in front of a speaker cab, SM57 preset, off you go.
Done.
It's cool. We got all the compression set up, gain staging is there. It's great. I think it's fantastic. And yep, we really appreciate it, Rode. You guys rock.
We love you,
You rock a
Rode.
lot. I mean, for Australians, we didn't put that up.
Yeah. We don't like Australia, but we like what you make.
Yeah, we like you guys, but other Australians not so much. It's a sports thing in South Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Why are you saying we?
I'm including Jason. It's like
Yeah, Jason also doesn't like Australians.
I think Jason doesn't like sports.
Oh.
Well, that's true.
No, I like
Well, he
it.
says
Well,
that, but he watches
yeah.
F1 and soccer. So, but those don't count as sports. 'cause
That's
they're-
not sport.
They're reality television now. So
I don't know,
I
like
can't argue with
anything
that.
that you get a bunch of guys playing with balls, I'm not into.
you're not into it, okay?
Like no.
More
no,
innuendo.
No
actually.
ball sports for
Do
me.
you like
thank
fast
you.
cars now?
I do like fast cars, but not watching F1. That's
Okay.
boring as hell.
Sure, I really like F1. So yeah, sorry. Anyway, moving along. What do we got for you this week? Well, we got a really cool guitar of the week. We were actually supposed to have Anton from Yamaha South Africa on this week as well, and unfortunately couldn't. Hopefully we'll get him next week. But what I did get from him, which I'm really excited about, is a Yamaha Revstar Standard, the new series. It's not actually in stock in stores, although by the time this podcast goes out, maybe it
should
will
be.
be in stock at some stores. But yeah, thanks to Yamaha South Africa and, of course, for giving it to Marshall Music because we work for Marshall Music. So you know.
Yeah.
It's a Revstar Standard. It's a P90. And I'm trying not to kill my coffee over here. Let me move that.
And don't relic it
Don't relic it. Why?
Yet.
Why now?
yet.
I think I'm going to keep this thing, man. I'm not giving this thing
Yeah.
back. This thing is super cool.
Yeah, I must say when Mike brought that guitar in here this morning, I was like, dude, I'm keeping it, and then it's like, sorry, bro, it's
Sorry,
already mine.
I'm keeping it first.
And then he won because it's blue.
Yeah, you don't dig blue. I know this. So, I mean, this guitar we spoke about, I think, on the very first episode when it was a fairly new release. But just the build quality for an Indonesian-made guitar, it's ridiculous. Stainless steel frets. I mean, like the setup feels good. I don't know. Anton, did you set this up? Bit of trickery there, or is this out the box? Because out the box, if this is the setup, it's
Yeah.
insane.
I mean, when you gave it to me, my first question to Mike was, is this the Japanese model? And it's like, no, bro, that's Indonesian. And
That's
it's
actually
like,
something I was saying to Anton is like, I think the Indonesian models are so well spec'd that it's a very hard sell to actually go for the Japanese
Yeah.
model at more than double the price.
exactly.
So,
Like, why would you pay double the price if it's basically the same
Like
quality.
obviously, you want the bragging rights. You want it to be like a Japanese-made instrument. You want a hard shell case. You want the tone voodoo of it.
No,
being,
definitely. But I
like,
mean, but that guitar
vibrations
is,
played through it to age it. Rubbish.
but that guitar is so well
I love you,
made.
Anton.
You know, like I'm not going to spend double the amount of money knowing that this guitar is so good.
Yeah, I mean, also the pickups are the same on the P90 model as the Japanese model, so you're not actually getting that different.
There's a
sound.
special kind of wiring in there.
Yeah, it's got a few things. We'll show you when you plug it in.
It's Indonesian wiring.
Indonesian wiring, yeah.
Because you brought it to the shop yesterday just to give us a little teaser.
And yes,
What
you
that
guys were all
sounds like,
quite blown away. Carbon fiber reinforcement in the neck, so it shouldn't move. I'm actually going to take it with me on holiday. Let's see if it moves. Really cold weather because it's winter in South Africa. Let's see how it deals with mountain air.
I think I should take one to Strab with me this weekend.
And Mozambique, eh? That humid, warm tropical
I
air.
think so. Then we can check like the cold Joburg air versus the hot, and then if the neck
That's
moves.
actually relevant to the hot topic later on, where we're going to talk about how important it is to humidify your guitar.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the neck warping.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So-
that's the same thing. It's part of it. It's part of it.
Okay, we'll get there.
And you got a volute on the back here, it's mahogany neck, mahogany body, maple top. Obviously, no flame maple that you can see, but it is a maple top. It's got a little volute to give it a little bit more strength. Sort of Clusson
I just
style
like
machine
when you say
heads.
volute.
Volute. Clusson style machines. They feel really good. Like
That was a
honestly,
nice touch.
when you buy a guitar in this sort of price range, it's about 18,000 Rand or $799 kind of price point. You always expect something on the guitar is going to let the side down somewhere that you're going to want to change. I think probably the PRS SE Silver Sky is the first guitar in that price range that I've seen that I'd be like, I wouldn't change anything. And this is the second guitar that I've seen that I probably wouldn't change anything, because it's just there's a lot right here, man. I mean, the feel is great. Even the fingerboard edges feel like
No, the frets are pristine.
like it's ridiculous. This like thoughtful little feature we were talking about where the strap button is actually a bit elongated to shift the center of balance. Like unlike an SG style guitar where it'll tend to be neck heavy.
That was clever.
And they've actually chambered the first like front half of the guitar to also shift the center of balance. So there's more weight at the back of the guitar, so it doesn't have that neck dive thing. It's great. The neck profile feels very similar to my Gibson R9, I got to say. Very similar. It's a little thinner, sort of the first 5 frets, but very similar from there on. So
It gets dicker.
it's but it's a very like just right kind of neck profile. It's not huge. It's not tiny. It's just, it feels really good. Like everything on here feels great as well. Let's get some
You said
tones.
the radius was a bit not so flat like the previous Revstar.
Oh yeah, the previous Revstars had 14-inch fingerboard radius, well 13.75 I think it was, which
Let me
felt
just
a
hit
bit too
record.
fat.
So
Oh yes, you got to hit record on that. The other thing with Ooh. Oh no, what happened?
I don't know what's going on.
I know. Fix it, Dewald. I don't trust you. He's not going to edit this. Is it working? So the thing you're just noticing is that tailpiece has actually got springs in it.
Yeah.
That's actually about how you can set the height of it. So you can set the breakover angle at the back like you can with a Tunematic, like a normal Tunematics tailpiece,
That is very cool.
It's quite cool because like a lot of guitars with these trapeze tailpieces, they'll like be non-adjustable at that point. So I think,
it'll just lift with the tension of the strings.
yeah, so we plugged into a Strymon Iridium, a OCD overdrive, and a TC flashback delay.
Let's hear it.
Big pickup.
Do you need a pick?
That would be nice.
Do you have a pick on you? I do.
Oh, you play jazz threes, huh?
You got these. If you
I'm not used to those.
we should talk about picks at some point because that actually makes a huge difference. Not a real man, Jason. Why weren't you using your fingers?
I just was using my fingers.
Not well.
So this is neck position, eh?
Sorry. This is the neck position.
It's sounding.
And this thing has a 5-way switch.
Yeah, which is wicked.
So let's keep on down to the middle, I guess.
Yeah, both pickups on.
I don't know. Eh? I'm like
Spanky.
the humbucker guy is enjoying the P90s.
Bridge. we kick on a bit of overdrive there?
Let's hit it. So this would be the same as what's his face, British guy that's good looking.
Buck.
Chris Buck. Same
That's
kinda.
good looking. You noticed that, eh?
So like also P90s
Yeah.
vibe.
I don't know if he's got the same pickups in his, because I know he has a custom shop version of it that they've like specifically made for him that's like aged and everything. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's got the same pickups, but all the videos
Also,
that they've
yeah.
done, like the promo videos, I don't know if you saw they did it. It's got criminally low views, but they did a very cool like a promo video of the Revstar where it was with his band Cardinal Black, where he played 3 different models on 3 different songs, like you know, in studio, which is really cool because like you can really hear the tone in a like a band mix.
Yeah.
And he, you know, he plays the standard. He plays the Japanese one. He also, I think he also plays the Elements on the one, you know, with the entry level. So it's really cool. Now go back to that bridge pickup if you don't mind. Give us a little something.
A squizzle.
Let's pop the switch. It's got a push pull.
Did you say pop the switch or pop the bitch?
No, I said pop the
Oh,
switch. Yeah, I
Okay,
didn't
no,
say
I'm
that.
just wondering because I
I
apologize.
disavow all knowledge of that. So what it's actually got, it's got a transformer in the circuit, a passive transformer that you're cutting a bit of highs, adding some lows. It seems to like add a bit of output as well. Gives you like a darker tone, almost like a humbucking kind of tone, which is quite crazy.
I'm falling in love.
Hit it.
Hit it, bro. Hit it. Quite
Sorry,
honky,
there's
eh?
actually there's plastic on this pickup. I was like wondering why is this
Yeah, the plastic's still on the pickup.
plastic's actually making
Oh, no.
contact with the strings.
It's hitting the strings.
It was brand new.
So we hit that back down again.
Can we take that off?
We can eventually. I don't know.
Eventually, though.
Eventually, we want to just keep people going. Like,
Yeah,
will we
yeah,
take
yeah.
the plastic? Won't they?
Come on, the audience is waiting.
Do you know what I actually thought when I was first playing? I'm like, why does the top? I was like, why does the top of this pickup look concave? You know, I was like, this looks weird, and I'm like, oh, it's plastic. That's why it's like it's the edge of the plastic making
warping.
it. Like, there's something wrong with this guitar. The pickups are like bent.
Okay, but now I'm wondering. You
Yes.
said it's a 5-way switch. So what does the 5-way do?
So just give us
Let's
the
go-
regular
can we
bridge
start from
again
the-
before you.
Okay.
That's without the push pull gauge. You go to the next one. So that's the in between. So what you're actually getting there is you're getting both pickups together, and they say basically that the one pickup is slightly delayed from the other one. So it's like gives you an sort of a honky out of phase sound.
Okay.
Definitely honky.
And then if
then-
you go to the other in between position, it's the same
But
thing,
in reverse.
just a little bit.
Jeez, that sounds nice.
And on any setting, if you leave it on there, we just pull the switch again.
Yes. Anton, if you're watching, I'm gonna phone you right after this.
Well, you know, you would have already phoned him. So it's like, let's actually say, Anton, I hope the phone call was good.
Yeah,
Yeah. You've got to think about the time. When is this
I'm
gonna-
about to phone you in the past.
This guitar is crazy good, huh?
Yeah.
Like, it's really crazy good for the money. Highly recommended. I'm not giving this one back. Sorry.
Okay.
It's-
Do we know? Because I know with my Revstar that I had the under the scratch plate, it was like still painted, so you could have the option to take it off to have like a
You could. It's going to have 4 holes there.
yeah. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be because I dug that with
You
the
took it off yours.
yeah because it
Okay.
had this nice quilt finish, so I wanted to have more of it.
You drop a pick.
Oh my!
Yeah, I did.
The problem with those Altex picks is with their
Yeah,
fall
they're
out something,
very,
they're like half transparent, so you can't see the damn
Be a
thing.
man. Play
I
with
always
jazz
like when I drop
bro.
a pick, I always like make eye contact to see where it fell.
You're like, oh,
Otherwise,
like make sure that it's like, I see you there.
gotta watch
coming
where
for
it
you.
bounces.
That's why I have to
Except
play
in the
with the
bounces.
red jazz threes.
Yeah,
You
that's true.
find them.
They stick.
So, verdict on Yamaha
The black
Revstar Standard. This is a Revstar Standard series. We were hoping to have the full range on, but we'll probably have that next week.
We'll try.
Hopefully, I don't know. We'll see. But Guitar of the Week, Yamaha Revstar Standard P90. I think it's called an RSS02T.
I think
And
that
this is Swift Blue. This is the color.
I think that could
really
also go
nice.
like kind of a guitar of the month thing.
It could.
in my opinion, that
could be
thing
sort
is-
of a Guitar of the Month thing, because then we can justify having it back next week.
yeah.
Like when I played this for the first time yesterday, I think it was like a minute of playing, and I was like, "This is the best Revstar I've ever played."
Yeah, I think they've done something here where they've refined it to a point that it's like all the right things to make it exactly
it's
what
classy.
it
I
probably
think
needed to be from the beginning. You know?
Yeah, it's super classy. I dig the fretboard inlay.
It's very rare that you find a guitar design that's not a copy of an old school, you know, a Gibson or a Fender design or a Gretsch design or something that like stands on its own. I mean, it's got a bit of an SG vibe to it, but
in a way, it's still its own thing.
It's its own thing, and it's the whole Revstar range has got its own kind of like aesthetic, which is really cool.
This sort of trapeze tailpiece, I'm liking it a lot.
I actually wasn't, honestly, I wasn't sold on it before I got the guitar, but when I got it, I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
Because you see, the thing is that Swift Blues are actually the only color you get across from the entry level elements to the standards to the Japanese professional series. But the models with humbuckers actually have racing stripes on the blue, and I really dig that.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
I was like, oh, but you don't get no racing stripes here. But actually, I'm fine with it. I mean, I can put back my Alberton mullet, you know, and be like, okay, it's cool. I can do without racing stripes for once in my life.
Alberton mullet.
This is me thinking.
You know?
How I'm going to swindle Anton.
Give him money.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of how you accomplish this one.
Damn
Give
it.
him money. So yeah, thanks to Yamaha South Africa and the Marshall Music Guitar of the Week, Yamaha Revstar Standard, fantastic. One thing I want to say about this that's not actually the guitar, but the guitar does have, is it's got Alexa strings on it, and I think
all guitars
that is worth discussion right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're a guitar store employee.
Yes.
We know how quickly regular nickel wound strings die.
There's nothing worse than trying to sell a guitar and the strings are just
dead.
Gone. Yeah.
But I mean, the problem is when you got
so many guitars in the shop.
How many guitars do you think there are?
500 on display.
500 on display, and there's probably another 1,000 in boxes.
Yeah, probably.
You know, if we, you know, it's like it's a.
You could take it out of the box.
It's a shitload of guitars, but the problem is that guitar that's in a box.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been in a box, you know, in our warehouse for a month or two, but it took like 3-4 months to get there from the factory.
Yes.
So it's like, say the strings are actually 6 months old and they've been exposed to sea air. So like they're dead already, like DOA.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're fine, but it's just, I've seen it a lot. Like, I mean, I don't work at the shop, but sometimes I'll be up there like looking at something like, oh, the strings on this are dead. And I think to myself, well, you know, there's probably been like, I don't know, 30 or 40 people who've touched this guitar before you.
Yeah, but I think also, I mean, some guitar brands have affiliation with, you know, strings, but I mean, just at least go for coated strings, because
I think that just makes guitar stores' lives easier, but it's also better for customers, because I just think that slight cost saving that a guitar manufacturer gets from using a cheaper string, it's not justified, because it just means that the guitar is not putting its best foot forward.
yeah, because you'll take a guitar off of the shelf that has elixirs or something, and I mean, this guitar could probably be better in every sense of the word, but it sounds crap because the strings are dead, and you're not going to sit in the store and change strings to hear what the guitar sounds like.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Look, if we have to, we do it on occasion. But one big issue is that we will want to regularly change the strings on our high-end guitars, but then and then we won't necessarily use elixirs. And then 2 weeks later, we're like, the strings are actually starting to go again, you know?
yeah, it's just
Keep having to replace
It's also like the oils in people's hands. Some people don't clean their hands, so they'll come in and like touch guitars, and like one dude playing a guitar, if he's got really corrosive sweat or something, kills the guitar, and it's like, screw you, guitar store, but it's actually Mr. Sweaty who who ruined the guitar. Yeah, it's just how it is, unfortunately. It's like, it's not possible with that many guitars to change the strings on everything every 2 weeks, because like literally we'd probably need, how many people would it take to do that?
You know?
I mean, that's going to cost a lot, and it's going to take full time, basically. So, guitar manufacturers, please put Alexa strings or D'Addario XS or XT.
Yeah.
Do what Taylor, Yamaha, those guys do.
Taylor, like
Not a long list there.
I think there's a reason why Taylor guitars generally outsell other acoustics. It's the Alexa strings.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the guitars are fantastic. Let's.
But the moment you
no bones
take
about it.
that off of the shelf, it sounds so much better than the Gibson with the Gibson strings, because
They even improve the sound of your average guitar.
no, true.
I mean, obviously, for some people, an Alexa string is an acquired taste, and I get that. But I mean, if you tried Optawebs, they're like, you know, the electric string from Alexa that sounds like a regular string, feels like a regular string, but lasts longer.
a little longer.
So even that would be cool, you know. But it's really disappointing when you take like a 60,000 rand acoustic off the wall, 100,000 rand acoustic, and it's like plonk. You know,
It's got Gibson vintage reissues on.
yeah, it's just
No, but that's the tone, bro.
it's just the thing.
And that's
you
the
know?
thing. I will not argue. Like those strings sound better.
Yes,
Just
not
Alexis,
consistently
yeah,
good.
Exactly.
Because that's the thing is you just want the guitar while it's in a store or while it's in the demo phase to be the best that it can be consistently. Because you also like some people will play a guitar and they'll be like, oh, this guitar is great. They'll come back 2 weeks to play the guitar and like, I hate this guitar.
Yeah.
Chances are it's probably like 20 other people have played this guitar. The strings are not dead and it's not actually that the guitar is shit.
Yeah.
It's just, but I mean, it's a problem we can't really solve. It's a problem guitar manufacturers I think could solve, but
Easily.
do they want to? I don't know.
We'll wait and see.
Wait and see, yeah. So anyway, gear of the week. We got a couple things for you guys. The one thing we're not going to talk about it too long, but it's on the table here. It's the Strymon Iridium that we've been running through the last couple weeks, running direct.
And it's been out for a while, but it's still mind blowing.
It is, yeah. And I mean, we've all actually had Iridiums.
I still own one.
Still own an Iridium. I mean,
still
Mark,
love it.
who's usually on the podcast, has had Iridiums twice, three times. He like serially rebuys
keeps
it.
missing it.
It's like, oh, I hate it. No, I love it. I need it back.
But yeah, that's the thing. I think it's just like you miss the Iridium when you have the opportunity to play through a tube amp. But the moment you don't have that, you're like,
You want that tone, man. And that's what I was in search of, a pedal that could emulate that because it's responsive.
So I mean, what it is for anybody who doesn't know is it's basically an amp simulator pedal with some impulse response cabs as well. You can get some overdrive from it if you want to. You can run headphones out of it. It's got a USB port, so you can use it as an audio interface. So it's really like versatile recording tool, but also for live because of its form factor. You know, see that.
yeah.
But the Strymon form factor is tiny, so you can pop it on your pedal board behind all your other drive pedals or whatever, and literally
That's
use
what
it
I
for
do.
running direct. Yeah. I mean, you practice with it at night, yeah?
I play with it at home, but most of the time I use it for recording. And I've tricked all my friends. They all think I'm just playing through my... It's like, hey,
Yeah,
dude, is that your Fender Hot Rod? Nope.
I don't have a Fender Hot
I
Rod.
don't own
Joke's
one,
on you.
actually.
Yeah, I did a
Used
review
to.
with Iridium, and I took it to Bruce Wallace, who's a studio engineer, producer. I mean, he produces a lot of albums. And we gave that to him for a week to try out, to see what he prefers. Is it better for live or for studio? So obviously with what we spoke about last week is like where modelers have gone, and with, software has gone now. So he's now also moved over to enjoying software more in the studio just for ease of use and like being able to tweak it afterwards. But he said in a live situation, they used it at their church, and he said like, it's the bomb. It's literally, it like sounds incredible. It's you plug it in and there it goes.
I think what's cool about the Iridium versus a lot of the other things, like the thing that it's often compared to is the Line 6 HX Stomp.
Yeah.
Which I've directly compared them. They're both very cool, but they're not quite the same thing. The only similarity they really have is that they're both small. The HX Stomp's a bit bigger, but HX Stomp is basically a shrunken down Helix with less processing, less effects blocks, but you can do a lot more than you can on an Iridium. But it's for some people it's the same sort of function where you put it on your existing pedal board behind all your other pedals, you use it to go direct, use it as a backup, whatever. But I think the Iridium, where it's what it has over something like the HX Stomp, is the easy use because everything is just on a knob. You don't have to go through menus. I must say with the Line 6 stuff, you kind of often want to actually use the software, not the interface on the unit because it's not the greatest.
I'm a very simple guy. So the simpler the pedals, better for me.
I mean, this is simple. So if you're not a guy who digs modeling stuff, if you don't like, endless tweaking, this is actually the modeling device for you because it just makes your life easy. It's the same controls as the top of an amp, basically, or the front of an amp, depending if you're using a Vox or a Fender or whatever, but Marshall, where it's on the front. But you got a blackface Fender sound in it. You got a Vox AC30 sound in it, and you got a Marshall Plexi, like JMP Plexi sort of sound in it. So it can do drive, it can do cleans. It works fantastically with pedals. It works fantastically for recording. It's just a super versatile device, and I think we're now seeing a lot of other companies doing this sort of
Same
thing now
thing,
as
yeah.
well. A lot of boutique companies. There's a Walrus Audio thing.
There's a Fender one too. I forget the name of it.
But I also think it's just due to the fact that guitars want their board smaller and smaller and smaller, and they don't want to carry amps with anymore, So that is the
And they don't want
ideal
something as
solution.
complicated as a Helix.
Exactly. Like, because some of us have really cool pedals we really dig and we want to use them. And, you got the Helix this big and then your pedal board is huge. When you get the HX Stomp, maybe you're giving up more than you want to. But if you have already delays that you like, a reverb pedal you like, modulation that you like, just slot that behind all of it. Or in between, if you want, you can put the delay and reverb after if you want it to be like the effects loop on an amp and you want to use drive on the Iridium. It's also got a favorite switch as well, so you can say save a clean and a driven setting.
So
Did
like
you
a
know
two-channel
that?
amp.
Sorry, did you know that the sound developers or sound designers at Strymon literally pulled apart the amps that they put on this pedal to figure out how they respond, how they react to using the controls, and that blew me away. That's what was a game changer for me.
That's why the mid control on the Vox. I mean, the
Yes.
Vox
Yeah,
doesn't have a mid control.
Yeah, on the Vox, Vox amps, as we all know,
It's got a
doesn't
top
have
cut.
Exactly, and that's what the middle knob does, which is really cool.
It's very cool. I really dig it. I think it sounds pretty cool. I mean, you guys be the judge. Do you like the sound? I mean, obviously not. Jason's playing, but kidding.
Sorry.
No, but
better.
Iridium is great. You want to hit a quick note on the Iridium again? Yeah. Pickup.
Neck pickup.
So that's not AC30 vibes.
And it takes pedals well.
Treble bleed on this guitar?
Yes. Pretty good, huh? Cleans up nicely. Actually, it's something Nick Rush was telling me because I bumped into him at Yamaha and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love this guitar, bro." I mean, obviously he's gonna he's Yamaha endorsed, so it's the best thing ever. But he's right; it is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it was Nick that also sold me on getting my Revstar.
He's wrong about that one though. The first Revstar wasn't as good as this.
Yeah, it's not as good.
I did like them. They were very impressive guitars.
I liked them, but I didn't love them.
This is a step in the right direction
Yes.
too, where
Definitely.
I'm actually getting really excited about
previously, I mean, we're hitting Revstar again just because you're holding the thing. You wouldn't put it down. I mean, I noticed in between.
Yeah, sorry.
segments there, but
And we talk about the Iridium, but screw the Iridium. Listen to the Revstar.
I don't know. I nearly bought a Japanese Revstar actually in 2016 when they launched, and I ended up buying a PRS mirror instead.
You know what I dig about the Japanese
So
ones?
that should tell you something.
Yeah.
Is that copper
Oh yeah.
scratch plate. That is so
They
sexy.
don't do it anymore on the Jap ones anymore.
That
The
is so
current Japanese
sexy.
ones.
The
Sorry.
brushed P90s is just something.
But they don't do that anymore.
What?
It's all the cream covers.
Yamaha, why are you moving
I do
backwards?
like that.
Also, the Iridium's good. We were talking about that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So the last thing we want to just quickly touch on, just because it's cool and it's in the studio at the moment. This
Damn.
is Dewald's PRS Hollowbody 1. It's 20 years old, yeah?
It is.
Oh, I broke some. No, I didn't.
Oh no, it's
This guitar, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this thing is full of dings. Like,
it has seen many rock and roll gigs.
it has seen many gigs. This thing is super cool. Super cool. It's got a piezo as well, the McCarty pickups. It's light. Big fat neck.
I thought my pretty little girl.
Hit the audio baby. Must I pass your baby to you?
Well, let us touch it.
You want to touch your baby? Okay, that's getting a bit.
Canard touching it.
This is a really cool guitar. Ebony buttons on the tuners as well. It's got a custom truss rod cover, a single piece top, so not a book matched flame maple top. It's actually just one piece, which is crazy. Like to get a piece that big, I think PRS used them all up.
Probably. And then obviously the McCarty pickups.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is just
Stop tail. I do wish PRS did more stop tails like they used to, because like most things have got trims now, and I'm not a trim guy.
And the only thing, because Jason asked Nana, like,
Yeah.
did you notice color fading? The only place I could actually notice was like,
And is that just now?
yeah, that's
Under the light here.
Yeah, under the lights. The first time I see him, it is actually going a little bit blue.
Oh no, you're gonna have to sell it. You hate blue guitars.
I'm gonna have to sand this
you like
down.
that blue guitar, so
I'm gonna have to
Thanks.
sand it down.
I love blue guitars. So
Yeah, no.
last year I think I had 5 blue guitars over the course of the
Yeah,
year.
and what's cool, the one thing that I've always dug about this guitar is you can see on the binding, you can actually see the maple.
Yeah, the
That is
natural binding
the cap
is super cool.
of the maple. It's
I dig that.
Yeah.
I mean, something this is also telling me as well is just how good the SE Hollowbody 2 is, because it's so similar to this. It's a different guitar, but it's like it looks so similar. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason why I got this, Mike Einzinger, Incubus, back
Oh,
then was
really?
just jamming PRS Hollowbodies. So I was like, but he was actually playing arch tops, but I didn't know. So I walked into Andy McGibbon's back in the day, and I was like, I want that one. Why? Because Mike Einzinger.
And he's like, what are you saying?
Why are you talking like that? Give me that car. So yeah, I walked out of there, and I mean, had this guitar ever since. I mean, Moritz Lotz had it with him for a while when he was doing a lot of sessions. I've been borrowing it to my
Yeah,
friends.
you mentioned earlier this been on a lot of albums there.
Yeah, so I mean, with Moritz, he went to the stage where he had a blue PRS. I can't remember if it's custom 22 or custom 24. He had one like that, and then I used this one a lot. And then I mean, for a lot of my friends that like when they record albums, apart from the stuff that I've done, if they wanted a guitar to play on, I would like.
But you know, this crazy bastard over here is like, oh, I need to buy this guitar. I'm going to buy this guitar for gigging. I'm like, just get your PRS back from the studio. Just get it back. You'll be happy. Don't spend money. Just.
But the problem is, and this
Was I right?
You would know, definitely. Yeah. You're definitely right. So the Fashir Vet that I have is an incredible guitar. Like, I mean, that thing is just pumping, but it's got 3 single coils. And by itself, at home, it sounds amazing. And even when we did our rehearsal for the last gigs that I did, like during the like bluesy jam stuff that we did, it sounded insane. But the moment we started doing the rock stuff, I was just like,
not quite doing it for you.
And then on the Friday prior to the gig, I went to get the guitar, thinking that I probably have to restring and everything. Got it out of the box 4 months later that it's been in the studio. It's still perfect. And then went to do the gig, and I was just like, that's why. That's
why it costs what it costs. I mean,
yeah.
594 Hollowbody 2 right now. I mean, there is one at Marshall Music if you want to check it out. It is stunning.
It's very pretty.
It is. Yeah, check at his face. He's like, oh, that guitar.
That is.
It's a lot of money. It's about, 130,000 Rand, somewhere around that.
Yeah, you got to be very delicate with that guitar.
Yeah.
Take very good care of it if you buy one.
Yeah,
well,
like this one, you can see it's
the
got
difference between these and the new ones is these actually had a polyester finish, so it's a bit harder. It takes a knock a bit better, whereas the new ones, they're doing the nitro finish because that's what all the guitarists want. They want the inanimate object to breathe. You know? So
but yeah,
it's a bit more fragile, the finish of the new ones. But I mean, this guitar, like do you have it insured, mate?
No, yeah, this is the one guitar that is actually insured. But that's the thing, like even with gigs, even though it is insured, I think the sentimental value and the fact that I've had this guitar for 20 years, is kind of like, I love gigging with it, but I don't want to. Yeah. But I want to, but I don't want to.
It's kind of like me with my Les Paul. Like I'm just like, I don't want to actually like play out with it. As much as I love the guitar, it's just like I think I love the guitar too much is kind of the issue.
And the serial number on this is 165,000. So
that's pretty early, yeah.
That's very, like think about like it's probably like in the millions now. Well, way more.
Oh, way.
So I mean, this is a PRS with a 6-digit serial number.
I don't actually.
That starts with 1.
What year does it say on the top?
I don't know. What does it mean? How do you read the years?
It's year 1. It starts with a 1.
No, they might not have done it back then.
No, what they do now is actually on the top left, they actually have 22 for 2022, 21 for 20.
Yeah.
So it says 1. So this means
year 1.
And you got it back in 2007. You said you bought this guitar.
No, I got this in 2002.
Oh,
maybe it's
that
maybe
one
it
could
is
be
2001.
2001. Yeah,
it's like PRS has been around since 1985, but they did move factories, I think, in the late 90s or the early 2000s.
We'll do a check.
Yeah,
interesting.
Cool.
Great guitar. I just wanted to show it because it's super cool. You got it here, and I'm like, I got to knock it against everything.
Knock it.
Whoa! Can you put that down for me? So I think the recommendation based on, I'm going to say it again, Revstar, is get a Revstar to gig with.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, let's be honest. So going back to the Revstar, we should just,
oh my word!
Let's just call this episode Yamaha Revstar.
Should we like capital letters Revstar with 3 exclamation marks?
4.
Okay.
So again, so there you have 130,000 Rand PRS versus a 20,000 Rand Yamaha.
Yeah.
That Yamaha is on every level.
It's very good.
Just as good as the PRS.
Well, I can say
apart from being a Hollowbody and everything,
I was comparing yesterday actually comparing that Yamaha to my custom shop Telly and my custom shop Les Paul. It's not as good, obviously, but the comparison versus other guitars in the price range versus those guitars is usually very unflattering. I'll be like, I'll play a guitar in isolation and be like, oh, this is nice, and I'll compare it to my guitars. I'm like, I hate this. Yeah, I didn't have that response there because it's like it's about context with guitars. It's like you got to play it against things that you know through things. Through
but I mean, when it comes to build quality,
but it's very good.
Like it's
you can't
for me, it's
that's Yamaha in general, though. I guess the whole
Japanese, we love them.
I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't like Pacificas. Sorry, I had a Pacifica last year.
I also don't dig Pacificas. The fret, it's too flat.
It's too flat. The 14-inch radius is too flat, and that's also what I didn't dig with the previous Revstars. The fingerboards is like a classical. It's like super flat.
Yeah.
Like for me, the flattest the fingerboard gets is the Gibson 12-inch, no flatter than that.
But I mean, that's kind of probably like the Ibanez thing, because Ibanez fretboards are also like
16-inch radius, so it'll be really flat. I mean, some of the Revstar, I mean not Revstar, Pacifica stuff also have like I think 12 to 16-inch compound radius, so it's like even flatter at the top end. What I don't like with those guitars is the flat fingerboard, the skinny neck, like those two things combined. I could deal with the flat fingerboard if the neck's a bit chunkier, but it's just, I think
too skinny. Or
Yamaha has shown us what they can do with the Revstar and doing like an exceptional guitar, and I just think the Pacifica is not at that level, like not at all. Like
sounds like they've been listening.
If they refresh the Pacifica to be in line with the features like stainless steel frets, a different neck profile.
But again, now with the competition that's in the S-style range, like I would understand why they'd rather put their money and effort into something new than try to compete with Fender, compete with everybody else. Yeah. I don't know if they're probably bringing out a revised version of the Pacifica, but
let's hope so. I mean, the pickups in the Pacificas are pretty good. Like the entry level Pacificas, I think, are probably the best entry level guitars. They're like a lot up there with the SXs, and I think they're better than the Squire Bullets. I don't know how
I agree. No, well, they are a bit more expensive though.
Yeah, that's true.
You can align it with an Affinity Squire guitar. Yeah. And still the Pacifica
a little better.
A little bit of an upper hand, but the look and style of the Affinity is what sells.
So are the Yamaha
Squire by Fender that does sell the
So are the Yamahas made at the Court factory?
I think they are actually. It's made in Indonesia.
That's the
majority of guitars
part of the Court
are
factory.
I don't know. I think their production line makes some really good guitars. Yeah. I mean, GNL tributes are amazing. Indonesian made Fenders.
Attest to that.
All the Ibanez's
Squire Classic vibes are amazing.
Yes.
They're really, really good.
So, I'm just kidding because we have.
I know, but
because every time we get a guitar, we actually know it's been made.
It's been made at the Court factory, but they are like, it's a freaking huge factory.
Yeah, it's not just like
There's a reason that guitar manufacturers choose them.
They're probably the size of Pretoria West. It's not just like a single factory.
But also like a lot of manufacturers actually have their own like building at Court. So like PRS SEs are made in their own production line separate to all the other stuff. So I think that's probably the case for a lot of them. It's just PRS is one of the manufacturers that's quite happy to tell you exactly how they do things. Whereas a lot of other guys, it's like smoke and mirrors. They don't want you to know. PRS's whole vibe is like, they actually want the thing to tell you where it's from. It says it's made in Indonesia.
And how it's built, so you know.
It's quite interesting. I watched a video on PRS's channel about a month ago where they were showing the very first like SE Santana prototype. And he was actually saying like, what I wanted from the beginning was for the people who make this guitar to be recognized that they're the people who made this guitar. So at the time, it would say on the back, made by World Music Korea. Because he's like, they're great craftsmen. They should be recognized. They shouldn't try to hide where the guitar is made. Whereas a lot of other manufacturers, let's be honest.
That's cool. Yeah, it's like give credit where it's due.
Yeah, credit where it's due. They make great guitars. Anyway, tangent.
Sorry. Iridium.
We're long past that. So I think we've touched on this a little bit with the Alexa Strings discussion.
Yeah.
But the hot topic for this week is humidifying your guitars.
How wet must your guitar be?
How wet should your guitar be?
Not too wet.
Not too wet.
Not out in the rain.
Not out in the rain.
But not in the sun.
Not in the sun.
Yeah.
So basically, hermetically sealed in a Ziploc bag.
Definitely. So that is why we have Jason here today, because Jason works with people, guitar buyers every day. Works with the acoustic guitar department at Marshall Music. And I mean, this is something that I think you see. Well, I mean, we've seen it with our guitars and stuff, so we know, but now working on shop level, how many people do you get that doesn't understand the concept of humidifying?
Look, I don't want to freak people out thinking that their guitar is going to crack, because I've seen so many like really old guitars that someone's had for 20 years and they never humidified it, but the guitar was always in the case.
Or in a cupboard or something.
Or in a cupboard or something. So it's in a controlled environment, and that does help the guitar. But humidifying your guitar is very, very important, especially if you have a guitar that you paid quite a bit of money for. The last thing you want is for your baby to crack.
I think the cracking thing, especially with acoustics, because like I think for acoustics, the humidifying thing is even more important than electrics. But it is actually important for electrics, because a lot of people are like, it's an electric guitar, it'll be fine. No. But the acoustic thing, I mean, we mentioned this, I think, a couple of weeks ago with Mark, where it's interesting how the more expensive acoustics are actually more susceptible to damage due to lack of humidity because they're made out of solid woods generally.
Proper woods, not laminate.
So I mean, the fact that it's a solid wood. I mean, if you think about it, an acoustic guitar, the wood is extremely thin. It's a solid piece of wood. It's under some tension as well because the strings are pulling it. There's a lot of factors on that thing. You add in that the thing's now shrinking because it's losing moisture. It could crack. Whereas like a cheapy guitar, it's like laminate woods. Yeah, it's pretty soft. The laminate's pretty soft. It can move. Like guys will be like, oh, I've got this like cheap, court guitar that I've had for 20 years. Nothing ever happened. And I just bought a Taylor and it cracked. It's like, well, it's just really about the solid wood thing. And I think, as you say, it's like a lot of people, a guitar's an investment, right? They want to look after it.
Yeah. And it also improves the sound when you humidify your guitar. And I can't deny it because like every time I do humidify my guitar, look, I'm not that consistent if I'm honest. But the fact that I'm doing it is helping the wood. And like the next day after I've put the sponge, a little thingy, and in between the strings, and I close the case, the next day I can hear an improvement in the overall sound of the guitar.
Sort of placebo effect, is it? Yeah.
I would like to think that it is, but honestly, like I know you don't own an acoustic guitar right now.
I'm not an acoustic guitar.
But like me loving the acoustic guitar and having my Martin since 2015, which is a
is it a Martin or a Martine?
Martini.
it's a Martin though, because it's made in America, right? It's not a Mexican Martin. Sorry.
Broke his heart.
Yes, it's made in Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Yep. And that's if you take a ride at Bethlehem, literally I've been there.
Yeah.
Like I've driven there. So
what
literally
is there?
the town is Bethlehem and then Nazareth.
I'm jealous.
What is it? Let's not go there. Anyway, keep it quiet.
Yep.
So here's another thing: you don't want to over humidify your guitar.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing to use is you get the humidity packs, the gel pack, like that thing. It's good for
that's
like
a D'Addario
6
product.
months.
Yeah?
It is a D'Addario product, and that's really easy to use for the lazy guys who don't want to like wet the sponge every time. But they've also brought out a new sponge that contains water for a lot longer. But the key thing here is if you are using the sponge, you only put more water with the sponge if it's
dry.
completely bone dry, like it's not pliable at all. And then you want to wet it again.
That wood is literally going somewhere. If it's in your guitar case, it's literally going into the wood.
You'll notice, like if your guitar is very dry, it soaks it up a lot quicker.
It's also interesting, like with that, is that it's not just like about wood cracking. It's also about there's some immovable elements of a guitar. I mean, the frets don't move; they're made out of metal. The wood does move, so you
got a maple fretboard on your electric guitar.
Oh. Yeah, if you let that get too dry, that can be a problem. The problem with the fretboard thing, though, like the fret ends poking out, is it's a lot harder to fix that with humidity because when it gets to that point, it's been so dry that it has shrunk. You can it'll pop out a little bit, but you're gonna have to probably have the fret ends ground or something.
Is there such a thing as over humidifying?
Yeah, we just
said it, man. Are you listening?
No, but I'm like, I know if the guitar goes dry, like, what problems do you get when the guitar?
You actually get patches on the wood, and it can also go a bit green, and you can get like I don't know, freak people out. It's like you're putting it in a controlled environment where you are going to get like, I don't know, moss or something in your guitar. It's
algae or something.
I mean, you guys have seen like cheese growing on fingerboards from people who like don't clean their guitars.
JD Custom probably has some stories.
Oh yeah, they definitely have some stories. No, but I mean, it's harder to over humidify a guitar than to under humidify.
Yeah, because obviously if it goes dry, it cracks easily. But like, what are the?
So you reckon it'd be like a wet paper bag?
No, I'm just like wondering what happens when it becomes
like he says. I mean, it could also cause structural issues. You could have warping of the top.
Yeah, because now it's malleable now.
Because it's dry, it could warp because it's over humidified. But that's more rare. I mean, most people are not going to over humidify. What I would also suggest, I have this at home. Just go and take a lot of Amazon wherever you live. 200 Rand, $5, $10. Buy a hygrometer for your room. I mean, we have that in the acoustic room at Marshall Music with me. So it's just, it lets you want to keep that humidity range between sort of 45% and 65% so that it's in the ideal range for humans and for guitars. Interestingly, the ideal range for humans is about the same as guitars. Who would have thought,
it makes absolute sense now.
Well, it's quite cool. Like, I mean, it's helpful at home to have humidification in your room where you sleep. If it's dry where you live in winter, I mean, if you live in Johannesburg, you live in somewhere like, I don't know, Colorado or whatever, it's like high up and dry. Mexico City, high up and dry. It's just like it's gonna affect you quite badly. I mean, I originally came from Cape Town, very wet kind of environment because it's by the sea. When I moved to Johannesburg, I suffered for years with like super dry skin and whatever. And it's like, because you acclimatized to that. And, you know, for a guitar, it's kind of like that too.
Similar,
some guitars are manufactured by the sea. They ship on the sea to get you. And then suddenly they're in an environment where the guitar's like, you know, going dry and parched. It's like,
but let's talk about a topic I overheard. We were actually at the store the other day. Well, I think it was, I don't know, could be with a conversation with Mark, where we spoke about when you buy a guitar, go home and you just open the case. And then, I mean, that could affect.
Well, yeah, you do want a guitar to acclimatize to where it is. So, like, it's, I mean, we've seen this with some very high-end stuff where you don't open the case, like the nitro finish. If the guitar's gotten really cold and you, like, say, open it in a warmer room, you could literally hear a cracking sound as the finish is going like, nah.
But is that is just due to heat, or is that also a humidity thing?
It's a temperature and humidity thing for sure. You know, there's multiple elements to that. But like the thing with an old school nitro finish is it will crack over time. That's inevitable because, you know, the wood will move, the finish will move, and they don't move at the same rate.
Murphy Labs.
No, I mean Murphy Lab guitars from Gibson Custom Shop are actually pre-aged, where they actually, I mean, it's a secret how they do it, but I think what most of us sort of accepted must be is they're exposing the guitar to different temperature ranges to actually accelerate that process. So like Novo guitars, for instance, we watched the rundown that time.
I watched a guy bash a guitar with a rock too.
Bash it with a rock and then put it in a deep freeze to like check the finish, you know, make the cracking happen, because it's like the guitars are being exposed to an extreme
Very
temperature.
cool. I want one.
Yeah, I want
But doesn't
to.
that like screw up the wood then?
No, it's
The rock does screw it up.
No.
because you're hitting it.
Yeah.
You know,
But yeah, because I mean, like, if you heat it and warm it like a sound, obviously when you build a guitar, you know, try to get as much moisture out of it, and now you freezing it, you know, so it's obviously probably
it's
like
going to add a bit of moisture to it for sure.
and then you're heating it, it's moisture out again, so that wood's doing that the whole time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like some manufacturers say that literally doing that somehow ages the wood and makes it like as if the guitar has been played for 40 years or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's...
Well, it makes sense. Think about it. So if you had a guitar for 40 years, it would have seen 40 summers and 40 winters, you know, so...
Yeah,
and
maybe
kind of
some
like
harsh
speeding.
winters too.
So we're putting it in and out of the deep freeze 40 times.
Yeah.
I
Apparently
doubt
John
it.
Mayer did that. Like
so?
when he got that Blackie Fender Strat custom of his, he was just like, "This doesn't sound that great, man." And then
He's like, put it in the freezer.
He put it in the fridge, man. And
Really?
he's like, "It sounds a little bit better." But then he found out there was something wrong with the wiring instead.
That's amazing.
That makes sense.
Is that true?
That is a true story, I swear.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I mean, coming back to what you were saying about guitars acclimatizing, like if you could order a guitar online and it's got a nitro finish, yeah, I'd probably leave it in the box for a few hours at least. Like some guitar stores like Sweetwater are quite big on this, where they'll let a shipment acclimatize for like 3 days in their warehouse before they actually open it and then start like checking the guitars before they ship
Some
them.
of our suppliers here do that as well.
Yeah, because you imagine now, like, they just ship and you open it, and the amount of returns they're going to get because the guitars aren't.
Yeah, I mean, a polyester finish is going to be less susceptible to that kind of thing. But that's also something to think about with humidity. If you want to preserve the pristine looks of your nitro finished guitar, humidify the guitar. It's going to keep that going for longer than, you know, if you just leave it.
You can just buy the Humidipack pouch and just pop it in the back of the headstock.
And there you go.
Yeah, we've got one from Nomad.
We'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out all the humidifier
We've got
products
Nomad
available from
humidifiers
Marshall.
for your acoustic, and we got the pouches, and we even have ones that have built-in hydrometers. So check out our website, marshallmusic.co.za.
It'll be in the description.
In the description.
I've got another question. This is completely off topic. I don't know how much time we have left. But with guitars that are aged, why don't they just give artists like John Mayer 10 guitars, let him play it for a year, but like really like jam it, and then sell it as a relic, but John Mayer guitar.
Relic by John Mayer.
But like, think about it. Like, so why have a? Let's say you want a Silver Sky, right?
Okay.
So, but you want a relic Silver Sky, which I don't know if it makes sense. But why not just give John Mayer 10 Silver Skies to jam at all his gigs? Because I'm sure he gigs a lot in all his sessions and
Yeah,
stuff.
like in the bag, you'll have like a little printed out photo of him with the guitar playing.
Yeah,
on stage
but
somewhere.
it's relicked by the actual player. Like, think about it. I
And
don't
these
know.
guitars only get sold like 20 years later, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a thought. It's an idea. Maybe.
Love it.
Wow. Left field, left
Yeah.
brain. Is that right brain? I don't know. Which is the creative side?
I don't know. It's probably the middle side.
The middle side. There's a middle side.
It's in the
Use
crack.
your middle brain.
So I mean,
Yeah.
let's take it back to the humidity thing. You were talking about the humidity packs that you get from D'Addario. I like how you pronounced it.
I like
correctly.
Nomad better.
No music Nomad ones.
Nomad has a good sponge. Retains the water for a long time.
That's a really weird statement in isolation, but like what you're talking about, that's pretty cool. The Music Nomad stuff, it's available all over South Africa and in America. It's also pretty cool with Music Nomad. They manufacture a lot of the guitar products for guitar manufacturers. So, the branded kind of thing, which is quite cool. So, yeah, you probably have some Music Nomad stuff and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
The other option, of course, is have an actual humidifier for your room. That's kind of where I was going. If you've got a hygrometer in your room telling you the humidity of the room, having an actual humidifier in the room is pretty cool. I tend to have that in my room anyway because it's dry. You want to, it looks after you.
Also, it works as an air diffuser. So
yeah, there's that too. You could do the essential oils thing.
But if your guitar
you
is
got
in the
allergies?
case most of the time.
Yeah. So it's just helpful to have in your home regardless of the guitars. But then, of course, if you're doing that, you do need to open the cases because you're not doing
it.
It's not really going to do anything if the guitars are in the cases while you're running a humidifier. So I'll often just open a few cases, park the guitars around while I'm playing them with the humidifier on. They soak up a bit of moisture for a few hours and then off they go again.
Taking care of your babies.
Exactly. A lot of people leave their guitars on the wall. And if you do that on a wall hanger, I would say humidify in the room is super important then because there's also going to be long periods of where if you're not home, the humidifier is off, the guitars are getting dry. If the power's out,
You don't want to leave your humidifier on at a high setting. You walk into an Amazon.
No, you don't want. Again, 45 to
Great for your pores,
65% relative humidity is where you want to be at. You don't want it to be too wet. Because also for you, then you're going to be getting cold and sweating at the same time, which is kind of weird if it's winter. So. Yeah, I'd say that the not keeping guitars in cases thing, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Look, if it's in a case, it's at least in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
My guitars at home, if I'm not playing, it's always in a case. But it's just because I've got 2 dogs. So, it's kind of...
there's that. Because, also people have cats. The cats love sleeping in the cage.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they do.
so you got to be careful with that. But, I know a lot of people who just hang their guitars on their studio wall and it looks cool. But yeah, then really do think about a humidifier just to sort out your guitars because you're going to be, we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. There's a ritual video on YouTube where he's ruined his $5,000 Nova or whatever because he doesn't humidify his guitars and they're all out. And he's a professional guitar player, gigs all the time. He's a YouTuber and he didn't realize that. And I just think it's a subject that a lot of guys don't think of. But it's super important. Look after your babies. On a Les Paul or a 335 or something with the binding, you could actually have where the neck shrinks, so you'll feel like a ledge on the edge of the fingerboard where now the wood is kind of moved, but the binding has stayed where it is. It's that's not cool. And that's a very common thing on Gibsons that aren't looked after, So you want to avoid that kind of thing. If your guitar's got binding, like a Revstar like this, maybe that could happen to this very Revstar. The problem with something like this, with stainless steel frets, they're really hard. So if you cause the neck to shrink on a guitar with stainless steel frets, actually smoothing off the ends, it's going to be really difficult.
You get a grinder.
No. But even with nickel silver frets, trying to actually smooth off the edges if the fingerboard or the neck is shrunk, it's pretty difficult not to actually ruin the fingerboard. So now imagine amplifying that by stainless steel frets that are incredibly hard. That's a bad time. So really look after your guitars, guys.
But I think Jason made a valid point. I think it's really not a thing about scaring people, but it's more about educating them and understanding. And I think it should kind of be a thing when someone buys an acoustic guitar from a shop, it should be here's a humidifier.
Yeah, we give them the rundown.
So
when they buy acoustic guitars,
make them sign some form that says
this is what's covered.
If you don't take the humidifier,
that's also something that does happen where people are like warranty, and it's dude, what have you done with the guitar? No, I hung it on the wall for 2 years and didn't play it,
or left it in the boot in the sun.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things. Just think about if it's not a place that you would like to hang for the entire day or lie for the entire day, you probably shouldn't put your guitar there. So if you don't want to lie on the back seat of your car in direct sunlight in 40 degrees Celsius, probably don't do that to your guitar. If you don't want to just hang naked on the wall for days on end, probably don't do that to your guitar.
But I'm also thinking
That's
like,
a weird image. I saw you thought about
just
that.
like using my imagination there with your story.
have you watched Reacher yet?
Yes, it's great.
But like hanging on the wall. Go watch Reacher.
Oh,
you'll notice.
yes, you're right. That is a great series. Do go watch it on Amazon Prime. It's fantastic.
But yeah, I'm also thinking like even with this, like in my office studio here, is obviously you'll turn the aircon off when you leave and you turn it on when you go. And you don't realize it, but I mean, it goes down to 20 degrees and then whatever hits throughout the evening, you know. So like, I don't know, but I mean, that does change humidity, temperature, all of that. Yeah. And it's simple things that you don't think about now. But like while we're having this conversation, I'm thinking like, maybe I should not leave.
Well, again, it's about like with certain instruments, something like this, a newer PRS Hollowbody too, because it's a solid wood semi-hollow guitar, well, fully hollow guitar actually. Like that's something I would be worried about.
Some would call them like semi-acoustics, technically.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm thinking. It's just like it's a general thing. Like it's something that any guitarist, you know, like me now, for instance, I wouldn't think about. Like I would not think about that. But now,
I think a lot of guys just don't make that connection. You know, like you were saying, you also don't think about what is the humidity during the day. Because think about it from this perspective. If you during the night dew falls, so like early hours of the morning, there's actually higher relative humidity at like 4 or 5 a.m. than it is at say 1 a.m. And then by the time you're in the heat of the day, that's gonna, you know, that humidity is gonna burn off and it'll actually drop. So by late morning, then your humidity will be a lot lower. You know, later in the day, it'll be even lower. And by the time you hit sort of early evening again, it's like as dry as it's gonna be because it's. So you'll actually see if you have a hygrometer in your room, you'll see that sort of change happening, and you go like, oh yeah, I was doing this to my guitar all these years. I mean, I have a guitar that literally lay in the top of a cupboard for like 20 years, and it was in terrible condition because of that. It was like a guy gave it to me for free, just like, have it. And
what a nice guy.
That guitar has obviously had all the shrinkage gone because of that. So it was in terrible condition. It's in good condition now, but you know, I saw what the ravages of like just not being in a case, not being in a proper control. And that's a cupboard. That's not hanging on the wall. That's actually better than hanging on the wall.
Slightly more controlled, yeah.
Slightly more controlled.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be nice to your guitars, guys.
So bottom line, should people get humidifiers? Yes. Or no?
They should.
Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be talking
not
about it.
Consider it. They should do it.
I think it's a definite. If you're a guitar player, especially acoustic guitar player.
If you live at the coast, maybe not. Maybe it's unneeded. But you know, then you got other problems. Your machines are probably rusting. So you should probably wipe those. Keep off that kind of thing. Your pole pieces and your pickups could rust. All of that kind of stuff. But it depends on where you live. So I mean, this is obviously targeted at people who live in environments that can get very dry. And you also see like if you're a winter rainfall area, maybe it's you know, that during that period of the year, you're not really going to need a humidifier much. Whereas, you know, if it's, you know, and then summer it's dry, then you maybe need a humidifier, or the other way around.
To control it. I mean, like you also said, like it can get overly.
And also, I mean, if you're just super rock and roll and you don't care, I hope you like buying another guitar at some point.
For sure, bro.
Or taking it to a tech multiple times to sort out all the bits that don't move versus the bits that do move.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably why we said earlier with that PRS, why I've not needed to take it so many times, setups and whatever, because it's been living in its case. It's got taken out, gigged, back in the case.
It's older. It's a 20-year-old guitar, so it's already gone through that humidity cycle and the temperature cycle. I think also when they manufacture guitars, they do dry the woods. You know, they'll generally be kiln dried. I mean, some are actually like roasted woods. Like, I mean, my Telly's got a roast maple neck, which what that does is it knocks, it takes out some of that liquid out of the wood, and it just crystallizes some of the saps and the sugars in the wood to make it harder and more stable. So I mean, that's what happens naturally as a guitar gets older anyway, because wood always has some measure of moisture, and it has to. If it has zero moisture, shatter. It has to have some measure of moisture.
Yeah,
but it has to be drier than literally a growing tree. That's the thing.
That's actually a funny thing that I've read up about as well. Is like, I didn't think about this, but with wood, as it absorbs moisture, it actually becomes harder and harder. I don't know if like, so obviously over time, not like, you know, make it nut and then there you go. But like, for instance, the stilts in Venice that Venice is built on has literally become rock
because
from
of
not
the-
literally, but I mean they've become
Wood
rock.
that's absorbed water. and-
Yeah, and
Wow.
it's become rock hard. So it's I always thought like if
That's
you do that,
interesting.
if you do that
This
with
is the research you were doing for your holiday.
no, but I always thought like if wood laid in water like that, it'd like become muff, you know. And
Yeah,
kind
that's
of,
interesting. I didn't know that.
Is-
the same thing with the I know Sir and I think Fender as well. Like took all railway
Yeah.
wood that they actually found at the bottom of.
Yes, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
so
it's,
sinker wood, they call
yeah,
it.
so
you
it's,
know.
it's bridges that like they broke down to make way for new bridges, and that would laid at the bottom of dams and rivers and stuff for 100 years to get out and start building guitars.
Guitars
Well, I
out of
would
it,
thought
yeah.
like
I played on
Yeah.
a Breedlove that was made out of that wood. That was very cool. And I know Echo Park guitars.
They do too.
use it.
PRS have done some cool runs of sinkerwood guitars as well. Like there's a CE
Ooh, yeah.
semi-hollow they did. It's cool. I mean, the older the wood, the generally the more stable it is. If if it's been exposed. to
This is like
extreme
100
temperatures.
over 100 years old.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
like
there's
100
the-
years at the bottom of a lake,
Bottom
and
of
then
the lake.
There was the 60th anniversary of the Telly or whatever in 2012 where they did the Telebration series, and then they had like Bond or Tellys where it's made like they made 300 out of a bunch of barn, like walls from a barn and doors from a barn or whatever. Like cool stuff, Yeah.
guitars rock. Let's
Guitars
just,
rock.
yeah.
Let's just be honest. We just we dig the minutiae.
That's
Yeah.
freaking cool, man.
It's so much fun. It's so cool. And I hope you guys have found this podcast so much fun and so cool too. We really appreciate you guys listening or watching wherever you are. Please give the channel a like and a subscribe, whether it's on the D-Dog channel, on the Marshall Music channel, or over
Anywhere.
on Spotify or wherever else it
Apple
is.
Music.
Apple
No,
Music.
I don't know where's all the podcasts going.
I don't know. We should check.
Everywhere.
Spotify.
Just like it, bro.
Just like it. Just like
Yeah.
it. And even if you
Apple
can't click
Podcasts.
like it in your heart.
Like it.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, guys, and thanks to Rode South Africa for all the cool stuff that they're providing. We're going to do a cool review of some Rode headphones next week. Going to try those out and let you guys know about those ones. And I hope you guys go to your local store and try out some of the cool stuff we've spoken about here today. Do join us next week. I've been Mike. This is still Gearvana and still Jason.
Thanks for having me.
See ya.
Jason is like a
Yes. Bye. Cheers.